advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Okay, welcome to this week's episode of the Herman Pugh Laurel edition of Talk News TV. And of course, the biggest thing that has come about this past week is the much trumpeted growth rate of 7.1% for the third quarter. But are we ready to bring out the confetti and rejoice? I walked through one of the major hypermarts, let's say, and I noticed that 7 stalls, major stalls, were closed. Is this a sign that the 7.1% growth may be what we call ampaw? The growth rate in the employment sector hasn't changed at all. It's still at 7%, and of course that depends on whether you accept the definition of employed in the country, because there are certain classifications they no longer include among the unemployed, which otherwise are employable Filipinos. The foreign direct investments are still at the bottom of the ASEAN standings. What kind of growth is this? We're going to ask 2 of our resource persons to help us understand what the facts are about this economy, the true picture of the Philippine economy today. We have, first of all, Mr. Hiro Vaswani, Director of the KME, the Kilusan para sa Makabansang Ekonomiya. And later on, but we're still waiting for him, Mr. Sunny Africa, Executive Director of Ibon Foundation, the alternative economic group, economic think tank, who will give us their view of the true picture of the national economy. So let's go to Hiro. Hiro, give us a summation of what your assessment is of our economy today and this so-called 7.1% growth.
Firstly, Mentong, I hate to be drawn into commenting on growth rates simply because the measure of the economic activities of a country like the Philippines is not a measure of the rise in the general welfare of basically the people. The gross domestic product is just basically the aggregate estimates of the different sectors of the economy and how they're doing. And in light of basically what the Philippines has gone through, the Philippines has always had spurts of growth. And this is nothing new. If we look back over the last 7 or 8 years, there is one thing that is basically changing the whole aspect of the Philippine economy, and that is for the first time in Philippine history, since the Philippine independence in 1946. The Philippines is achieving a surplus in its current account. It has been achieving balance of payments surplus, mainly due to the inflows from foreign workers.
Filipino workers in foreign countries, not
yes.
Foreign workers. Okay.
Well, the foreign workers in foreign lands that are sending their most of their salaries back home to their families here. And that has turned around over the last 7 consecutive years, basically. And even our trade deficit last year of over 12 billion, which is the official number, the unofficial number is larger. are being covered by these remittances.
Yeah.
And that has created an expansion of the money supply. Together with your new business process outsourcing, that is also bringing in more dollars, on top of the subnormal conditions in the global economy where short-term funds are looking for higher yields. The Philippines has faced the bounty of foreign exchange entering the money supply, and it has lowered interest rates that government is borrowing at unheard of rates because of the surplus in money supply. And this is driving money basically looking for investment vehicles, and with the drive for the BPO outsourcing and the push of the government for tourism, you have construction of condominiums, shopping malls, office space, hotels, driving a subsector of the industrial sector, which is construction. And then you've had a good run over the last year where the economy was chugging along at 5 to 6%. So you have had these spurts. But it is not making a dent in the overall employment rate because, excuse me, the drivers basically of cutting down on unemployment would be productive enterprise, meaning investments in capital goods, which is actually decreasing.
Yeah.
So we have investments in the non-productive sectors that are surging ahead, basically because of the demand for office space, residential space, and with the push of the government to pump prime the tourism, you have construction of airports, ports, etc., etc., etc. And again, it is basically following the tested model for the export of services combined with the surplus of workers' remittances that is driving consumption.
Well, I'm on radio almost the whole week, every day, almost every day. And my feedback from the radio listeners, which are basically DE and maybe C, is that things are still as bad, if not still getting worse, for the ordinary folks. But that's, in short, what you're saying. It's not any better for the general welfare, as you said. So summing up what you have been explaining is also the measure of GDP does not reflect the true economy.
No.
Is there any other measure? What about the Human Development Index?
Again, there are vast measures, but for a developing economy like the Philippines, where the agricultural sector is still backward, non-productive, when you have this anomaly of the peso revaluing against the US currency, making imports cheaper, my God, they're even smuggling garlic, onions.
Well, they're also bringing in Pt.1 from China.
You know, the price structure is so skewed against our non-productive physical agricultural economy that the more productive countries of agriculture that have their surplus, we can't compete. That you know, people are risking. I can't believe that that they smuggle in garlic and onions and other fragile agricultural products, basically because the price structure in the Philippines is skewed against domestic production.
Well, you mentioned currency. We'll focus on that in the second half of our discussion. And also while we're waiting for Sonny here. In fact, I came prepared. I've been reviewing this book, Currency Wars by Jim Rickards, and his view is that we're now in the Third World War, the third currency war. The first one was 1926 down to 1936. The second is 68 to around 1987, and then the start of the third currency world war is 2008, 2009, 2010, and we're ongoing. And other countries have responded, but our Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is paralyzed from doing anything at the moment, and government seems to be under Benigno Aquino III, seems to be clueless about what's going on in the currency front. But going back, it's clear it's not uplifting the general welfare. Okay, number two, the question of what measure to use. Maybe when Sunny Africa of Ibon Foundation comes, we'll go back to that. But I wanted to take a look at even the government data. As I was explaining before the show started, the growth rate registered in the agriculture sector is 1.7%. So that's far below what is acceptable. I think it's even lower than the population growth rate. Second is the industrial sector, manufacturing sector, which is around 5.2 or maybe a little higher percent. When you average these two major components, you don't get more than around 3.5 maybe, somewhere there. What really pulled up the statistics, and as they often say, lies, and statistics, what pulled it up was 24% growth in construction. But we have to go into detail about the construction sector. What is being constructed? I called up Jun Simon, the former mayor of Quezon City. He says, you know, there's a lot of government money now going into the construction projects that were delayed from 2011. Because 2011, the general growth rate was around 3.6%. And government admitted that they were not in step with the budgeted public works project. So maybe we're seeing a delayed release of these projects. So that's one. I talked to several real estate people, including among my brothers who are in real estate. They say there's a lot of foreign money buying up the top of the line condominium projects. But this is probably connected to the almost 0% interest rates in the US and maybe in Japan, which of course finds its way into our economy, which you also mentioned. At the middle and lower end, it's OFW markets. Construction generates only short-term labor, meaning as the projects go on, you have peons, construction workers, carpenters, and so on employed. But no durable, continuing jobs. So that's the picture. So agriculture is still down, and it's going to be worse for the fourth quarter with what has happened in Mindanao just the past week, this Typhoon Pabling. And so far, the estimate is $350 million damage to agriculture. The banana plantations that we see in the front pages flattened by this. So I don't know what the end of the year statistics will be. But even as it is today, given the details, we don't see, we confirm what you just said, that it's not really helping the nation at all.
Well, let me just mention that the agricultural growth rate for this year has been good. It's at 4 to 5%, and it will probably cover the damage that happened in Mindanao. However, excuse me, you have to understand that government has been pump priming certain sectors of the agriculture sector, basically rice production. The growth in the production of palay for the third quarter was very good. But you have to understand that these are all dependent on the amount of government support and weather. You have good weather, support from the government at the right time. Certain sectors of the agricultural sector do.
We're going to take a break. We'll have one additional break because we're trying to get Sunny into the discussion. So we'll be back and we'll check the data on agriculture because we have some discrepancy there. Okay, let's take this break.